Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the film Exorcist. Tonight I will be reviewing Kaguya-sama, Love is War, a story about a brilliant boy and a wealthy girl as they try to get each other to confess their love for one another. The crew consists of director Mamoru Hatakayama. The story was written by Yosashiro Nakanishi. Music was created by Kei Hanakako, and it was created by A1 Pictures. The cast involves Kaguya Shinomiya, who is voiced by Aoi Koga, Miyuki Shiragane, who is voiced by Mikoto Furukawa, Chika Fujiwara, who is voiced by Konami Kohara, and Yu Ishigami, who is voiced by Ryoto Suzuki. Now on to my opinion. Now, I wasn't too sure about this show until I started watching, to which I realized I wasn't really that interested in the actual concept of a love war, especially since I personally found the idea of our two main characters being together and the psychological aspect to be a bit bland at certain moments. Miyuki can get a bit too serious about his feelings, which can get really boring. It's also mostly because he kind of reminds me of Saitama, one of my least favorite characters in anime. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, throw tomatoes, do whatever. I hate One Punch Man. So, dislike whatever you want. But unlike Saitama, he can have his interesting moments, like when he learned about his fear of bugs, or when he tried to save Ishigami from getting the crap beat out of him for talking about the female council member's breasts, or when he learned how to play volleyball from Chika because he sucked. You know what? No, he didn't suck. He couldn't play at all. He couldn't even hit the ball at all. There's also the huge problem of the show feeling like it's going nowhere fast, because neither character wants to give up on their belief that they'd be a loser if they confessed first, which makes this very boring, especially when it continues throughout the entire series, and it makes it harder to see the actual point of the show and where we're actually going. And on top of that, the narrator doesn't make it any better. It just makes it boring at the end of each segment. There's also the problem of the show mostly taking place in the student council room, which is one of the least interesting places you could place a show. And yes, I know there were many shows that did it, like The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya, but that show actually takes liberties, like going to a beach or hunting for ghosts on a deserted island, instead of just talking about plans or never following up with them like this show did in the 2nd and 10th episode until the very finale. Lastly, the creators had the terrible idea of splitting each episode into 3 different stories, which made the episodes feel a bit more lacking because there was no follow-up to each episode at all. So we had and plus they cut out some of the actual chapters from the manga, which you're cutting out important parts. This isn't a movie, you can't do that here. Now, let's talk about the positives of the show, which unlike the show, can be split up into parts perfectly. First, I'd like to say that I really enjoyed the other main characters, Chika, Ishigami, and Kaguya, who each made the series interesting with their unique personalities. Chika, for instance, is basically the cheerful goofball of the show who brightens up every scene they're involved in, and she's also usually the mediator for a lot of Kaguya and Miyuki's fights. But she can also be a bit thoughtless at times, to the point that she's almost childish, especially her outlook. And the worst part is when she tried to wear a pair of cat ears, and my god, the show made her look like one of those demon cats, which ruined the moment for me, and that almost ruined cat ears. And plus we also see Miyuki who wear them, and it's just a boring guy with cat ears on him, and I didn't even see the appeal anywhere. Then there's Ishigami, Chika's polar opposite, who we didn't learn about until the middle of the series when he tries to resign from the student council due to his fear of Kaguya. But after this, we learn that he's pretty smart, despite his lack of common sense and lack of effort in school. Yeah, this guy is literally at the bottom of the school ladder. And he's pretty much a loudmouth and a loner who spends most of his time hanging out with Miyuki in the council room or gaming his life away. And lastly, there's Kaguya, who has been trying to get her rival to confess to her throughout the series with science and all these intricate plans, but it gets boring, but she has her fun moments, don't worry about that. Especially the most notable moments when she walked into the student council room looking almost like Samara from Ringu, or Ring, whichever you know it as, but with a fake knife, acting like she's gonna kill the Miyuki and Ishigami. And she also has the episode where she freaks out over the word wiener when she couldn't understand the meaning of, or when she couldn't understand the meaning of first time, which they're talking about sex, she's thinking first kiss, and it gets really awkward. And in ultimate, she makes herself look like a fool throughout most of the series. And there's also the episode where she had a fever and mentally turned into a child during her dreamlike state, which ended up with her pulling Mitsuki into bed with her and then beating the crap out of him later on. I'd also like to say that I did really love the finale, especially since it had the exciting change of pace from the rest of the show, where we see our four protagonists go to great lengths just to see fireworks together. And on top of that, this episode wasn't split into 3 sections, so we get a whole story. Wow! And like the rest, it actually felt well utilized, but there's also the problem of it ending on the same exact note as the rest of the series, so forget me saying that it was well utilized. Screw that. No, the ending ruined it. The rest of the episode was fine. The ending? No, not even close. And another great now is Thomas and Jay with those hideous human faces. So thank you, show. Thank you. And in conclusion, Kaguya-sama, Love is War was a great concept that could have really went somewhere if we actually cared about the main characters getting together, and if there was actually a good ending to the series. Now don't get me wrong, I did like the series, but I just feel that we need a bit more for it to actually be a true romantic comedy instead of a farce where there's literally no development in the two main characters and their stories or their relationship at all. And if there is a second season, I dread that we'll continue to have the same problems as the first season, unless they find a way to finally get those two to confess without it feeling like a huge letdown like this first season did. So I'm willingly going to give the show a 4.5 due to the major lack of development in the story, but it also had some interesting characters and a few great parts of a couple of episodes, not all of them, not even close. And I do recommend watching it for those few great moments. Just don't get your hopes up at all, please. And you can let me know in the comments if you like it or not. But now let's move on to next week, which I will be reviewing The Helpful Fox, Senko-san. And I can say, judging by the cover, it might actually be a very enjoyable anime. So I'll see you guys next week, and just please have a great night, and good luck when you watch this. Trust me, it's not as fun as the plot or the cover makes it look. And that's why we also and I'll leave you with these final words. Don't judge the book by the cover. Judge it by its plot and what's inside of it. Good night, everybody.